John.
Sandra, while the president looks to put a stop to his predecessor's policies at the border, one senator is saying expand them, specifically Title 42. Kansas Senator Roger Marshall saying the policy should be broadened to help fight the deadly wave of fentanyl destroying American families. Senator Marshall of the state of Kansas joins us now. Senator, good to talk to you. You had Rochelle Walensky, the CDC director, before the Help Committee yesterday, in which you said to her, look, I think that you should expand Title 42 in order to help combat the scourge of fentanyl that's coming across the border. She said, there's no more health emergency. We don't need Title 42. Listen to what she said.
The question of Title 42 that was posed to me is there a public health emergency that should bar people from coming into the United States? We now have, as of April 1st, when I commented on this, we now have the tools, the tests, the vaccines, and the therapeutics that are available. Our hospitals are not full. Everyone and most people in this room are not wearing a mask. There is no longer a public health emergency.
There is no longer a public health emergency. That was in the context of COVID. But you say that there is a clear and present health emergency because of fentanyl. Explain.
That's right, John. Fentanyl poisoning is now an epidemic that's killing more young adults than COVID is, than anything else is. You know, every day America loses about 200 people to fentanyl poisoning. And as you know, the fentanyl precursors are made in China. They're brought to Mexico. The Chinese work hand in glove with the cartel. They lace oxycodone, Percocet, marijuana, Xanax, Adderall, all the illegal drugs as well. They're bringing it across the border, and that's why Kansas is now a border state. Most every day we lose a Kansan to fentanyl poisoning as well.
So how exactly would expanding Title 42 stop the flow of fentanyl from coming across the border? Would it serve as a deterrent to people trying to get across, or would you have people who potentially weren't checked for drugs that were sent back? How do you see it working?
Right. Well, let's remember how Title 42 worked under President Trump. It worked beautifully, that he was able to return people to Mexico that were seeking asylum. And what Title 42 is gives the government more broad range authority to return people because of a health condition, because of an epidemic. COVID at the time. So now my theory, and thanks to Senator Bill Cassidy for bringing this bill to light, he's doing some great work there as well. But this would expand that same thought process towards fentanyl. Again, fentanyl is killing more people than COVID is, more young people than COVID is.
I want to ask you about gas prices, because you recently introduced the Gas Prices Relief Act that would block the president from implementing regulations and other policies that would drive up the price of oil and gasoline. Jennifer Granholm had a rather extraordinary commentary yesterday when she was asked about where she would want to see oil production in 5 to 10 years. She seemed to want to have it both ways, increase production now, but then do away with the oil and gas industry later. Listen here.
What we're saying is today we need that supply increased. Of course, in 5 or 10 years, actually in the immediate, we are also pressing on the accelerator, if you will, to move toward clean energy.
She's saying she wants the oil and gas industry to produce more now, but we want to get rid of them in 5 to 10 years. What company in the oil patch would want to get involved in a business model like that?
John, you nailed it. This administration, Joe Biden, is creating uncertainty. When there's uncertainty in any type of business, we're unwilling to invest. So his policies are what's driving this uncertainty. People in Washington, D.C. think that we can just turn on a faucet and we're going to get gasoline at the pump. But it typically takes 2 or 3 years to start the return on investment, and typically more like 5 or 7 years to pay it back. This is very complicated. It's very challenging. It's high risk, high reward sometimes as well. So this uncertainty created by their policy, starting with making it hard to get financing, hard to get new permits, even if you do get the leases as well, they are driving up the price of gasoline. This is on the backs of Joe Biden.
Yeah, well, I mean, that comment from the Energy Secretary seemed to be a classic example of let's try to have it both ways, which I don't think in this particular instance you can. Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, John.
And back